Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Integration Keynote. My name's Will Bosma, and I've had the pleasure of working and the privilege of working for MuleSoft for just over 6 years now. And I'm currently focused on establishing and building our business in Japan, which is a new market for us. Now, I'm going to take a very wild guess here and go out on a limb and think that you may have heard about the Fourth Industrial Revolution sometime today. And the Fourth Industrial Revolution is all about connections and it's all about intelligence. Behind every click and every interaction, there is a consumer or a customer. And they expect your business and your agency to be just as connected as they are. They've got smartphones, PDAs, fitness monitors, and they're truly connected when they want to be and how they want to be, and they have the same expectation of you as a business. And we don't actually have to look very far from here to see some great examples of the Fourth Industrial Revolution in action and how it does change our expectations and how we need to respond. For those of you who are motorists here in the state of New South Wales, we don't have to think back very far to remember what the process of registering a motor vehicle was like. If you recall, what happened was you would get the registration notice in the mail and you went and made an appointment to go to an inspection station. And you take your vehicle to that inspection station, and as long as you passed, you were given a certificate. And you bundled that up with a piece of paper that you already had. And then typically what you would do, you would ring around a number of insurance organizations and try and get the best deal that you could on some third-party insurance to go along with that registration. And they'd send you the certificate, or what we used to call the cover note, in the mail. And now you, as the motorist, would bundle those three pieces of paper together and take yourself off to the motor registry office and then wait in line for an hour and a half for the privilege of actually paying for your registration. Now contrast that with the experience today. So firstly, we've applied some intelligence. And if the vehicle is not 5 years old, you actually don't even have to have it inspected. But let's say you do. So you go to your inspection station, and now instead of that certificate being given to you, it's automatically uploaded to the Service New South Wales portal. You can go online and research via any number of comparison sites the third-party insurance options that are available to you. Make a decision, and when you do, that information too is automatically uploaded to the Service New South Wales portal. And so now, all you do is log on, it knows who you are, it knows the vehicles that are in your name, it sees that you already have those various certificates in terms of the inspection and the insurance, and you make your payment. And your registration's done, and you don't even have to put a sticker on your vehicle anymore. That program has been so successful in terms of changing the process that as motorists, we all got a $150 rebate last year on our registrations. And Service New South Wales is supported by MuleSoft and Salesforce to make that new experience possible. But it's even better than that. You can go to that portal, and now, as a citizen, not only can you do your registration, but you can do your driving license, your boat license, your fishing license. You can get Creative Kids vouchers, manage your tolls. In fact, there are over 800 services that you can now do via that single portal, and you can do it at a time that's completely convenient to you. I think that's a great example of how we're seeing connections and intelligent connections truly change the customer experience. Customers expect that you will be available to deal with them in the way that they want, whether they're in your store, whether they're on your website, whether they're doing it via a mobile app. They expect you now to provide them with a personalized and increasingly an intelligent operation. Let's think about potentially another example here. Let's say that actually you're sitting here and you've missed lunch, as I did, and it may be your want that you're considering having some McDonald's. So what you can do is you can get out your smartphone, bring up the McDonald's application, knows who you are, it understands what you have ordered from McDonald's before, and understands your preferences. It applies any specials or promotions that might be available right now. And if you want, you can actually ask to have somebody from Uber Eats deliver it to you right here in your chair right now. That's a totally different experience that McDonald's have rolled out. And it started as their attempt to really get in touch with millennials to provide a very different experience. But when you think a little more broadly, what that's actually enabled McDonald's to do is, for the very first time, actually know who you are. Because before this, all the experiences were anonymous. You just walked into a store and placed an order. And it's been so successful that they've taken it now to a range of digital kiosks in most of their stores, and they have the ability on a global basis to change the experience depending upon the country. Now, behind the scenes, as you're placing that order, MuleSoft is actually connecting that mobile application to more than 25 disparate back-office applications to make that experience possible. It's getting your history, your customer detail, your payment information. It's applying those specials and promotions. And yes, it's getting nutritional information. And so again, we can think about, I know, nutritional information, but you think about how that's completely changed the interaction between McDonald's and many of its consumers. And you can tell who they are, because you go to a store, you get the old fogies like me who go straight to the counter, and everyone else, the younger folks, all go to the kiosk and place their orders. Another great example, I think, of connected and intelligent customer experiences. And indeed, those connected experiences today span every industry. MuleSoft has got over 1,600 customers on a global basis, from financial services to consumer goods, as you'll hear about shortly, to insurance, to government agencies, as I've spoken about, to retail, and to media and communications. And as we work with those organizations and others, what we see is that those who can provide those personalized, connected experiences are the organizations that tend to lead in their industry. And the ones that struggle with it are the ones that tend to follow, and increasingly are being left behind as others lead. So if we agree that connected customer experiences really are the new battleground for organizations, why don't we see more of them? As consumers, we have all experienced, as we deal with agencies and various organizations, we've all experienced those disjointed experiences. And the truth is, for many of us, and many of us sitting here today, our data and our processes are highly fragmented. Indeed, we undertake a connectivity benchmark survey every year. And the results for that for 2019 are just in, and you have an ability to get hold of that paper here today. It's a survey of 650 IT leaders on a global basis. And those IT leaders, only 39% of them indicate that their organization can provide a completely connected customer experience. Just 39%. The average enterprise today has 1,100 cloud applications. Just stop and think about the magnitude of that problem for a moment. 1,100. And that's not counting the legacy on-premise applications and the various data stores that they may have in their business. And we see organizations every day that are not launching new initiatives, that are not creating new channels to go to market, that are not creating new digital products and services because they are deathly afraid of what's required from an integration perspective to wire those applications together to provide the right experiences. And what makes that problem worse for many of us is that we take a project-based approach to solving this problem. So that in our organizations, when we do undertake a new initiative, what will typically happen is we will form a project team and we'll bring to that team some architects and some developers, and what we'll do is we'll start to custom point-to-point code together the applications that we need to provide the experience that we're after. And guess what happens? In every organization, 6 months down the track, the business comes along and says, hey, you know what? We need to swap out one of those underlying applications. Or we need to provide a new mobile application. We need to do something different for the consumer experience. And so what happens? A new team comes together from a project point of view and pretty much rewrites all of that custom point-to-point code all over again. They get zero leverage from what's gone before them. And essentially, what we end up doing is tying and hardwiring our applications together in a way that actually defeats what we're trying to do. It actually locks our systems down and ties them down and makes it extraordinarily difficult for us as organizations to be able to innovate in the way that we wish to. So the right question then is, well, so how can we create more connected customer experiences? More importantly, how can we make them more intelligent and more compelling? And perhaps most importantly of all, how can I do that 4 or 5 times more quickly than I'm able to today? Because after all, that's the point. It's all about speed here. Well, if you're a Salesforce customer, the first part of the answer to that question is Customer 360. Customer 360 is the ability to get a single view of customer across all of your Salesforce organizations and clouds. And it comes with pre-built connections and cross-channel packages. And Customer 360 will be made available to Salesforce customers later in 2019. But we do understand that not all of your data is necessarily resident in Salesforce. And that's where MuleSoft truly comes to the fore. So MuleSoft has an integration or a platform that allows you to build integrations and APIs, regardless of whether they are on premises or in the cloud, regardless of whether your data is in Salesforce or elsewhere. And it allows you to build what we call an application network. And I'll come back to what is an application network a little further ahead. So MuleSoft's mission then is to help organizations change and innovate faster by making it easy to connect the world's applications, data, and devices. It's a little bit of a mouthful, but empirically, we'd step back and we'd say, well, that makes sense. That is something that I would really like to do inside my organization. However, I've already spoken about the fact that the average enterprise has more than 1,100 cloud applications. And we can layer on top of that all of those legacy on-premise applications that we may have procured or indeed built. And as a collective, on a global basis, we spend $700 billion a year trying to solve this problem. And if you've been in IT for any length of time, you have faced this. I guarantee you've faced this problem. So $700 billion a year. It's an enormous sum of money. And we largely spend that building custom point-to-point code to hardwire our applications and our data stores together. Again, continuing to make our systems more brittle, more fragile, and less responsive. Now, when you come down to our own individual organizations, that problem is actually a little worse. Most organizations from an IT budget perspective really only get increases in budget of 3 to 5% per annum. I'm sure many of you are actually in a situation where those budgets are flat. So how do you solve this problem? In that same connectivity benchmark survey, the IT leaders reported that the project demands increased year on year by about 32%. So they're being asked to undertake 32% more work from a project point of view. And yet 70% of their budgets, your budgets, are consumed by business as usual, by keeping the lights on. And so how do you innovate when all of the money is going to just doing what you're already doing? And I'm sure all of you will understand the demands that you get from the business. You want to be able to take advantage of those 1,100 applications. You want to be able to take advantage of the insights that you can potentially deliver out of your data stores. There's constant demands to build new mobile applications, and increasingly we want to make use of artificial intelligence like Einstein and Einstein Voice. And in some industries, obviously, you do want to make use of the Internet of Things. So you've got a fixed budget, and as a result, a pretty fixed delivery capability, and yet you've got this increasing demands in terms of what people are asking you to do. 97% of organizations reported in that survey that they're undertaking some form of digital transformation. And fully 80% of IT leaders say the primary motivation is not actually connected experiences, which it should be. It's actually around IT productivity. And you can see why. You can see that they've got this increasing delivery gap, which somehow has to be solved. So how do we do that? Well, that's what MuleSoft really does. It's about unlocking that fixed delivery capacity in a very different way so that you can increase the speed of innovation, what we call the clock speed of development inside your organization, to be able to unlock those budgets. And it's not just about money. It is about agility and it is about speed. And hopefully, in your own mind, the question that's happening is, okay, so how is that possible? How do we do that? And the answer actually comes down to, surprisingly perhaps, the humble API. Now, I'm going to absolutely date myself, if I haven't already, as I take you through an example here. Most of us think that the internet was invented around the late 80s and early 90s. But in fact, the internet had been around since the early 70s. And it had languished. The internet was used by academia and military research and a few other specialist applications. But it really did not go anywhere. So what changed? Well, what changed was we developed something called HTML. And HTML, we would argue, was the world's first mega API. And what it did was it allowed humans like us to be able to read what was stored on servers around the world. And we put a browser on top of HTML, and now the internet absolutely explodes. And it is that fantastic resource that we now could not do without in our daily lives. Fast forward to today, and your commercial applications typically will come with a set of well-defined APIs. If you're a Salesforce customer, you get a great set of APIs. Even SAP creates and provides APIs for its customers. And Workday, and if you're working with third-party organizations, let's say from a logistics perspective, they provide their services and expose them as a set of APIs so that you can consume them in your processes. So now, and you also have an ability, by the way, to create your own APIs and build them on top of and put a wrapper around your legacy applications and those data stores so that you can now expose and extend the life of those applications. So all we need now is for those APIs to just talk to each other, right? They should be able to do that. And unfortunately, that is not quite the case. What you actually need here is you need a platform to be able to get those APIs to communicate and to be able to orchestrate them into those experiences that you so much want to deliver to your customers. Excuse me, I think it was all the cartoon characters. And that's where MuleSoft's Anypoint platform comes to the fore. Anypoint allows you to connect any application or data sources that I've already spoken about. Anything all the way from a mainframe to Twitter. And it allows you to build your integrations and APIs on a single platform and then expose those to the rest of your development teams and to your partners, and in some cases, you would do that with your customers. This enables them to work with you much more easily, and it enables them to be able to innovate alongside you on top of your platforms. That helps you extend your core capabilities, and it actually increases that flywheel of innovation and gets that clock speed going inside your organization. And it empowers your organization to go faster. As I said earlier, what it does is it gives you an ability to build an application network one node at a time. And that really is a very important concept. But what people get excited about is they have this ability now to build an application network where all of their applications and all of their data stores are now repluggable and reusable services that you can use over and over again in building new processes and new experiences. So one way you might start this is you might do a project which is focused around sales execution. And as a result of that, you would expose some data and some processes and a set of APIs potentially around, let's say, product. And you might go to a second project which is all about providing analytics and insights out to the development teams so that they can get access to analytics and consume them in their projects. And then you might go on and do some work with a customer engagement center, and as a result of that, expose some data as a set of APIs around the customer and customer history and so on. Again, if I go back and kind of date myself a little bit, we can think of the analogy of the computer network. When we started developing computer networks in the 80s, yes, in the 80s, we didn't set out to create this all-encompassing network from day one. We actually didn't have an idea at that point of what it could look like. We didn't think from day one that we would have all of our devices and our internet access and voice over IP and so on. We just built it one node at a time. But today, You fast forward to today, you can walk into any organization and pretty much your device will plug in and work from the get-go. Application networks are that same concept taken to the next level in the stack, so that we build everything as reusable services that we can then innovate on top of. Now, I've used the word platform a number of times in describing Anypoint. Anypoint is a platform that enables you to design, to build, to test, to run, to manage, and eventually retire your integrations and APIs regardless of where they reside, on premises, in the cloud, or some combination thereof. It is a platform designed for that entire software development lifecycle from start to finish. It is not a collection of tools that have been built separately or acquired. And that's key in terms of your ability to execute here at speed. And at the center of it is something that we call Anypoint Exchange. In Exchange, we use Exchange as a central repository. And in that repository, we put in accelerators to help you get started much more quickly in financial services and retail and a host of other places. We put in all of the connectors that enable you to easily connect to third-party applications. We put in there templates to help you with your Salesforce integration, for example. And we put in there all sorts of code snippets and so on. The whole purpose of this is to make it discoverable and reusable. And as you build your own out in your own environments, they too go into Exchange, and now any development team can make use of those assets over and over again. And that's how you increase the clock speed. Think of it as an app store for MuleSoft. It is that platform which has allowed TikTok, for example, to build a mobile application that enables them to approve mortgages in 25 minutes. For those who are here this morning, it's that platform that allows iCare to revolutionize the way that it delivers workers' compensation and other insurances in this state. It's that platform which allows retail organizations like ESOP the ability to provide those compelling experiences both online and in their stores. And educational institutions like RMIT and Deakin to really provide compelling student experiences. So what I'd like to do is just drill a little bit more deeply into Unilever, and I know that Unilever was used in the keynote this morning. This is a somewhat different view of Unilever. Unilever is a truly remarkable organization in terms of its global scale. Over 400 household brands, from Lipton's to Rexona to Dove, and to my personal favorite, which is Street's Magnum ice creams. When I talk about global scale, 2.5 billion people use Unilever products every day. It's amazing. But let's hear from Unilever themselves.
Delivering for our consumers and our customers is the most important thing, and that should be the focus. It shouldn't be on worrying if the technology is going to work for you or configuring the technology. There's a huge demand for digital technology to drive business. And our organization understood that digital was going to drive the consumer products goods industry. Over the years, Unilever, like many companies, had thousands of systems. We needed to interconnect these systems. We had in the tens of thousands of integrations globally that we needed to maintain. Almost too much to keep track of. And you think about that, and you think about the type of organization that we need to have to deliver at that scale. That's extraordinary. We had a major problem to solve. 2.5 billion people use Unilever products every single day. We have 350 industrial sites globally in almost 200 countries globally. We manage 22 petabytes of data on all of our systems. We talked to our friends at MuleSoft, and they came in with this new concept. It's smart integration. Essentially, what they're helping us to do is write one interface that we can use over and over again. We've created this library so that we can very quickly and very smartly connect these business applications globally. Instead of working on projects that take years, we're doing things in weeks and months. So we can be presented with a business problem on a Monday and solve it by a Friday. There's a speed, there's an agility component, and there's a savings component to everything that we're doing on this platform. It's putting IT in the front office, and we're helping to solve proactively business problems. When you can deploy this quickly, it's really fun. Our rate of innovation has increased with the Salesforce platform because we're able to try things new very quickly, and if they don't work, then we go back to the drawing board. It's absolutely phenomenal.
So that's a very odd experience for me, watching a video and not being able to hear it, I have to admit. Okay, so Unilever, like many large organizations, has got smaller companies that are nibbling away in various markets. And so they really started to look at how they were attaching and delivering experiences to customers or consumers through retail outlets. And for this first project, they focused on T2. Have we got any tea lovers out there? Jonathan Stern may be out there in the audience. So if you are a tea lover and you know T2, it's a very specific and very personalized experience from a tea perspective. And people form an extremely emotional bond with that experience and with that brand. And so what Unilever wanted to do was figure out how could we scale this out to make that experience, that exact same experience, available in a very different way. That is, how do we scale it out to make it available to anyone in an online world? And so to do that, they used Salesforce Commerce Cloud and built the experience out as closely as they could to the retail store experience. But as is always the case, the rub here came when what they needed to do in order to be able to provide that experience was connect to some of their legacy back office applications. In this case, a product data store that they'd built over some decades actually, some third-party applications from a logistics perspective, and they're using NetSuite for cloud inventory management. So the typical way that you would do this is you would bring a team in and you'd start to write a little bit of code to just connect that product system into your Commerce Cloud experience. And then as you did the next phase of the project, you'd build another bit of custom code to connect the logistics and another bit of custom code to connect NetSuite. And what you have here is a set of truly black boxes. You don't know what's inside it. You don't know what that code actually does unless you get in and inspect it. And imagine now that what you want to do is you want to make a change to NetSuite. You actually have to go and find all of the places in those black boxes where NetSuite is called and make the applicable changes. Imagine if you want to apply security over every one of those endpoints in that network. You now have to find, you get the picture. It's a living nightmare. Fortunately, Unilever is a trailblazer, and that is not the approach that they took to getting this done. Unilever, in fact, had been in the process of building out their own application network for some time. Indeed, where they started that journey was they realized that every development team was requesting and redeveloping access into their data stores and their analytics. And they thought there has to be a better way to do this. And there was. And so they used the Anypoint platform to expose those retail and shopper insights, those analytics platforms, as a set of APIs. which now any development team could reuse whenever and however they wanted to. And those APIs are governed and secured and everything else. And then they were doing some work. They'd built a customer experience center, and so as a result of that, they had built some APIs out in order to expose customer history and data and so on. And then when it got to T2, you might recall those legacy applications. Well, fortunately, what they had done a little earlier was that Central IT had actually built and wrapped some APIs around those legacy applications. Because remember, they'd actually been designed for a B2B world. And here we're needing to apply them to a B2C project. But that is the flexibility that APIs bring to the table. So they were able to scale out and deliver that new online experience within 6 months. Something that would have taken them close to 2 years if they had not taken an API-led connectivity approach. And as you might imagine, they've actually gone on and done that now with a number of other brands within their portfolio, and each time they do this, their projects are getting faster and faster. So I'd like to leave you at the end of this with 3 thoughts. The first is, connected customer experiences truly are the new battleground. Secondly, software truly is eating the world. And wiring that software together with custom point-to-point code is completely unsustainable. Third, think about how you're going to build out your own application network and make your own expertise available to everyone else inside your extended organization. If you're interested in finding out a little bit more about MuleSoft, we've got a significant presence over in the campground and in the industries area, and you'll find a bunch of happy, smiling faces just like that, in t-shirts just like that would be more than happy to have that conversation. We do a number of events during the course of the year, and obviously we'd welcome you to come along to those. More importantly, if you've got a real need, either start a conversation with your Salesforce account executive, or if you like, come and speak to us. We'd be more than happy to bring the MuleSoft experience to your organization. And with that, I really do thank you for your attention this afternoon, and I wish you all the best for the rest of your world tour. Thank you.